What's up, Bulls Nation? You found yourselves locked on Bulls. I'm Matt. That's Big Dave. Up ahead on today's episode, the latest rumors and reports swirling around as we get about a 1 week away from that NBA trade deadline. Dennis Schroder? Who? What? Huh? Yeah, that is something we got to talk about. Plus, a familiar name pops up yet again. Paul Millsap could be being eyed by the Bulls and vice versa. That and a few more big men around the NBA who could be on the trading block. That's next on a fresh Locked On Bulls. Let's go.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily podcast on the Chicago Bulls, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Here are your hosts, Matt Peck and Big Dave Watson.
What's up and welcome in to Locked On Bulls, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Matt Peck. You can follow me on Twitter at Bulls_Peck. You can follow my co-host, Big Dave Watson, at BOW, BAWL Sports. BOW. You can follow us at Locked On Bulls. Hit us up on that text to voicemail line, 331-979-1369. Big Dave, we were going to do some mailbag today.
We were.
Because we were like, well, there's nothing going on. We got till Thursday until Bulls Raptors, and then some things happened. Recording here Wednesday afternoon, and earlier today, a couple of different reports dropped. One from Hoops Hype and Michael Scotto, another from Jake Fisher of Bleacher Report. And let's start with this one because I think it's the one that maybe caught Bulls fans the most off guard.
Okay.
Speaking of guard, in other Celtics discussions, this is from Jake Fisher at Bleacher Report, Boston continues searching for landing spots for point guard Dennis Schroder and wing Josh Richardson. A framework of Schroder to Chicago for Troy Brown Jr. and a second-round pick has circulated around the league, while the Jazz have been consistently mentioned as a possible destination for Richardson. So that was Jake Fisher, Bleacher Report. Now, here is Michael Scotto at Hoops Hype. Dennis Schroder is a name to watch for Chicago with the injuries to Ball and Caruso, and Chicago in a win-now mode. He's the type of player the Bulls can buy low on for a second-round pick and a player like Troy Brown Jr., for example. And then Scotto's partner Goslin on their podcast adding, Schroder to Chicago was something I was keeping an eye on during his free agency in the offseason because of his connection with Billy Donovan. Schroder had his most success under Donovan. A reunion could help Schroder and help the Bulls with the injuries to Lonzo and Caruso. Blah, 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 blah. So basically the same report from two different sources saying Schroder and the Bulls could be a potential match between now and the deadline. I have thoughts on this, but let's start with you. What's your reaction to these latest reports?
Well, first and foremost, before we dive into any of this stuff, I always have to say this. Two things. One, if AK and Eversley are with it, I'm with it. If they're not, I'm not. Two, unless I hear it from them, I don't put too much weight on things. I just read the article, Joe Cali being told the same thing by NBA sources that they're a very, very hard team to read because nothing comes out of there. When's the last time you heard that about a Chicago Bulls team? Hello. But yeah, how awesome is that? Nothing comes out. It's a very hard team to read. But let's play the game, though. I don't like it that much.
Thank you.
I don't really like it. The reason I don't is because I don't see the fit. It's the one place that the Bulls are kind of log jammed at. Is the guard position. Removing Lonzo and removing Caruso for right now, still having Kobe White, still having Ayo Dosunmu. And of course, they're playing heavy minutes because your backup is Matty Legend. And,
right.
He's out there to shoot. He's not out there to facilitate. All right. It's not his job. So you don't like nicknames, what it is.
I'm just letting that one slide. That one.
I got many more, man. I'm sorry. I got more from a main man. I got more. But I understand the need for right now a guard. But the problem is when they come back, where's he going? Like, what's he going to do? Like, he's going right to the bench. He's too good of a talent to just put right on the bench. So immediately you're like, okay, you get rid of Matty Legend, you get rid of Matt Thomas, you get him out of there. But then he's still on the bench, is my point. You know what I'm saying? Like, because then on the bench you got Caruso, you got Ayo, and you got Kobe White. Mm-hmm. Like, where does he fit in on that one? You know what I'm saying? And it's not like I can't put him in for anything else other than scoring. That's it. That's what he does. He puts the ball into the bucket. He's good at it, awesome at it, but that's what he does. The Bulls are lacking a couple things. One is defending, one is defense, the other is size. Those are the two things that kind of lacking. For me, he doesn't really fit exactly what the needs are of this team going forward. He's a good stopgap now because of the injuries, but I'm more so thinking about when those guys get back, then where's he going to be?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. To me, Schroder is a short-term solution for a problem that's not the Bulls' biggest problem. If you're talking about roster construction and a deep playoff run, he doesn't solve the Bulls' issue of interior defense, rim protection, rebounding, any and all of those things that Bulls fans have been clamoring for through the first half of this season and wondering if that move's going to come. But I'll just say this. Here are the good things about Schroder.
Sure.
Yes, he had some of his best NBA minutes and games under Billy Donovan in OKC, and he was part of that very efficient three-guard lineup that Billy loved in OKC. And guess what? The Bulls are seeing a lot of three-guard play and sometimes four, given their roster construction in Chicago right now. His 2 seasons with Billy, 15.5, 3.5, 4, 19, 3.5, and 4. Like, he also does get to the rim a decent amount. He can get to the free throw line. He can finish at the rim. Not quite the shooter that Coby White is.
No.
But here is the other element to that, Big Dave. And some people have been talking about that since this came down. Maybe Dennis Schroder isn't the move, but a side move, an adjacent move to something bigger the Bulls might have their eyes on of bolstering his front court if that move is so big that it forces them to include Coby White in that trade. Because then if you say, okay, we have to give up Coby White because we get this big man that we need, here comes Dennis Schroder who can eat some of those minutes that will, now be voided from Coby White. So maybe that's one possible element to what AK and Eversley are thinking here. And then the other good thing about Dennis Schroder is that laughably small, he fumbled the bag contract. He ended up signing with the Celtics after everyone else had a team at the end of free agency last summer. $5.9 million expiring. That is an easy piece of bookkeeping for the Bulls to do. It is a short-term loan, and if it were coupled with a Coby White trade away to get a big man, then the Bulls also don't have to worry about paying Coby White this summer.
That's true. Yeah, Kobe's going to want to get a check. That's just what's going to be the case, and he's going to get it, and he's deserving of it. But that makes more sense, Matt, when you break it down that way. That makes much more sense. So if this is the move within the move, then I get it. If this covers you, I understand that completely. So now the question, I guess, Bulls fans, oh Lord, I don't even want to ask it because it's going to open some floodgates. But who do you want for Coby White?
Here we go.
Who are you getting for Coby White? Like, what are you doing as far as that? If you're talking about making that trade, what big man are you looking at? Who's going to be available to you? You guys can say it in the YouTube comments because I'm actually kind of curious to know who you guys want as a big man, not just as a trade, Pete, just as a big man. Who do you think the Bulls could get for Coby White? I'm interested in your thoughts on that, Bulls fans. So please put in the YouTube comments. I'll definitely be reading them and checking them out. But I like that what you said, but I still kind of stand on it. If they aren't going to make any move, I don't want this to just be a move that they make because they're making a move. Like, we got to do something. Sometimes Bulls fans just want them to do something. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, doesn't matter that they're 32 and 18.
And in the previous regime's history, Bulls fans would be like, come on, do something. That meme of the stick. Yeah. And then the thing that they would do would be like, here, you happy we did something? And Bulls fans would be like, well, that trade sucks.
Right, exactly.
Nothing.
Yeah, like, you didn't do anything at all. Like, yeah. So it's no satisfying kind of thing. But I know, man, from what we've seen from AK and Eversley, guys, from what we've seen, they don't make those kind of moves just to do anything. Everything has a purpose and everything has a fit for this team. So if you're telling me Kobe's not going to be there, yeah, there's a spot for Dennis Schroder. But right now, as it stands, I just don't see why you would make that move.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on this. And look, there are a few other thoughts and things to break down here about a potential Dennis Schroder move for the Bulls, and we will do that. And then we'll get on to Millsap and some other big front court name guys as we move forward. But first, BetOnline has you covered this season, Bulls fans, with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. as pro football continues its march towards that big game just a couple weeks away. Who are you putting your money on? The Bengals, the Rams? I haven't made up my mind yet, but I know that when I do, I'm going to betonline.net, which remains the best spot for all your sports scores and news this season. And it's not just football. BetOnline has up-to-the-minute info on pro and college hoops, NHL, boxing, UFC, along with live real-time updates of current games. So don't wait to take advantage of all the new amazing offers available for the 2022 season. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. Diddly-diddly-do sports.
Well done.
Not even going to pretend that I could do that the same way, but just in case y'all wanted it out there, I gave you a half-assed version that was purposefully half-assed.
Yeah, thank you.
Story of my life. All right, so moving along in this Dennis Schroder conversation. He has had some decent games with the Celtics this season, Dave. He's kind of had up and down stretches. There have been some talks about whether or not he's getting along glowingly with his teammates in Boston, and they've been trying to figure out whether or not Tatum and Brown could be the guys to actually, make things happen for them. A lot of people had Boston as like a lock for a top 4 in the East when this season was getting started, and it certainly has been anything but that easy for the Celtics. It's been a struggle for them.
Yeah.
And maybe after a half a season, the reason that we're getting these Dennis Schroder rumors is because the Celtics are putting them out there to be like, hey, Bulls, are you down 2 guards in your rotation? You want this little Dennis Schroder dangling thing we have over here? Can we interest you? I mean, if they're willing to take a second rounder and Troy Brown Jr.,
yeah.
Like, what has Troy Brown Jr. shown people recently that says, oh, yeah, that's a piece I want back in a trade? Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. Second rounders can be valuable. Hello, Io DeSumo. But that could be the Celtics saying, who wants Dennis? Because we don't. It took us half a season to figure out we don't. But there is Billy Donovan, who made Dennis Schroder a contributing, successful NBA player under his tutelage and coaching in OKC. The other thing I don't love, fit-wise, Dave, is that, yes, this is an undersized Bulls team. Not a whole lot of height, and Tony Bradley's height is kind of irrelevant. However, what they do have is height and length at all of their guard positions in addition to their wings.
Correct.
Lonzo Ball, Kobe White, even Alex Caruso is like 6'4". Yeah. Javonte Green is one of the shortest dudes on the team playing minutes of power forward. He's 6'4". Dennis Schroder is 6'1". Like, he doesn't quite fit along that line of the Bulls roster construction of, we may not all be giants, but we're all decently sized. And they have a large backcourt. And I think, given the fact that when the Bulls defense has worked this season, it has been with the tenacity, length, and skill of their guards and point of attack defense. You do not get that with Dennis Schroder. He's an okay defender, but he does not give you the length and defensive competence with that length and size that the rest of the Bulls backcourt has.
That's a good point. But also I would look on the other side also to his point is his association with guys on this team. One of his guys he played with, Billy Donovan. Remember, he was in OKC as a guard there and had some success. He definitely had some tough times in OKC, but he definitely had some really successful times over there, man. I believe he have that last season before he left to go to the Lakers. He was averaging about 19 a game in that one, and that was coming off the bench as well. So he's not not used to coming off the bench. He hasn't done it in a while, because remember, he was a starting guard for a while, and then he was starting with the Lakers and doing things like that. But he's not opposed to coming off of it. So he gives you that.
Started all 61 for the Lakers in 2021, right. And then thus far this season with Boston has started 25 of 45 games in which he's played. So he's done both for the Celtics.
Yeah, he can do both, and he's solid. Like his best time shooting, percentage wise, was in OKC. His best 3-point percentage was in OKC.
38.5% in that 1920 season with the Thunder.
Correct. His best job rebounding was in OKC. Like he had some of his best years there in Oklahoma City under the tutelage of Billy Donovan who we have seen is really awesome when it comes to guards. Him and Mo Cheeks. I have to give Mo Cheeks that credit as well. So here's my thing. If I've seen what he's done with Kobe White, as far as changing him into a more serviceable just point guard, not even just guard. He changed him into a more serviceable point guard and added something to his game that can make him more appealing, you know what I'm saying, not just to the Bulls, but to other teams. If he decides to leave and go get a check, he can also say, hey, man, I'll run the point guard as well. I can be serviceable at that position as well. If he can do that there, I think they can make Dennis Schroder serviceable as a defender. Now, I don't think it will happen within the next 2 months. You know what I'm saying? And that's the problem. You know what I mean? It's not going to be enough time to do that. But if Kobe isn't there, and again, that's the only way I'm speaking on this. If Kobe isn't there and I got Dennis Schroder there, it doesn't hurt you offensively. Offensively, you'll be okay. You'll be solid. He knows how to score. He can score in the clutch too. He's shown that his whole career. So he has skills, Matt, for sure. But defensively, and as far as, like you said, being a chemistry guy and the size are probably the things that'll probably hurt him the most.
You just wonder if it's not, we're bringing in Schroder so that's our contingency plan because we're trading away Kobe White to get a big. Okay. If it's not that, then Caruso and Lonzo, knock on wood, come back before the regular season's over and for the playoff run. If Schroder is not being used all that much, when maybe he thought, okay, I can see myself going to the Bulls because I know Billy, we work together. I play well under him. I trust him. Guess who's absolutely going to be on the floor late in games and will absolutely get his allotment of minutes because it's Alex Caruso.
Yeah.
Most often, you bet the Lonzo Ball is also going to be on the floor late in games. Yeah. Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan. Where does that leave Dennis Schroder?
It's a good question. And also, you have to factor in. I'm factoring in also the reacclimation of Lonzo coming back from an knee injury. He's not going to be, back to where he was game one. You know what I'm saying? It's going to take him a few games, maybe even a few weeks to get that back. Same with Caruso getting that back. We saw that when he came back. It took him a game to get there. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But it's what it is. It's going to take some guys some reacclimation to get there. Patrick Williams as well. It's going to take a little reacclimation, especially Lonzo with the knee injury. You know what I'm saying? He's got to get over I trust myself, to do this and make this move. So it's going to take a second to get there. It'll be good to have that backup there in Dennis Schroder. But I'm comfortable with the backup we have. And I'm just saying if Kobe White is going to be there, I'm comfortable with that. I am. I'm kind of comfortable with Kobe being there. For me, he's proven that he can be serviceable at that position coming off the bench. And if we need him to be a spot starter, he's shown that. But if they're going to trade him, if they're going to make that move, like you're suggesting, Matt, like you said, if Dennis Schroder is going to fit, if they're going to make that trade, yeah, it's okay. I'm not mad because Schroder can also handle the rock too, man. He's a pretty damn good ball handler too, man. So he's got some upside to him, and that contract makes it an even bigger upside because it doesn't hurt you at all if you're like, this isn't working out, and you can go on about your business.
It's interesting to try to gauge just how real this is. Jake Fisher and Michael Scotto both have been known to have certain inside tracks and sources when it comes to NBA reporting over the last couple of years. It's not at the same level of Woj tweeting something like this or Shams tweeting something like this or even locally Casey Johnson tweeting something like this. However, there is something interesting in that I heard from a lot of different places back last summer that the Bulls really wanted Lonzo Ball. And we knew that they wanted Lonzo Ball at last season's trade deadline. It didn't quite work out, but that he was their number one target this offseason. Behind that, I heard that the Bulls were also interested in Dennis Schroder as a backup plan if they couldn't get Lonzo and that deal done. And maybe it's because of that pre-existing relationship with him and Billy Donovan. But again, similar to what I said about these most recent reports, were those reports that the Bulls were interested in Dennis Schroder coming out there from Dennis Schroder's agent?
Yeah.
As like I'm maybe curious that these reports of Dennis Schroder now being linked to the Bulls are not coming from the Bulls because we know how they operate, but they're coming either from Dennis Schroder's agent who wants to get him out of Boston because he's not happy there, or from the Celtics themselves who are trying to get something for him because they've already decided after half a season that he doesn't fit with the team they have right now. So just something to think about.
Yeah. Keep that in mind, guys. And understand, if AK and Eversley don't make the move, it's the right move. That's how I feel. If they don't do it, it's the right one. If they do it, it is the right one. And again, I am more inclined now, Matt, to the point you just brought up, that if they do make this move first, there's something bigger coming. Like, they're not going to make this move and then sit. There's something bigger coming if they make this move right here. And also, man, Troy Brown Jr.'s name is I like how his name is just the one sure thing being brought up. Like, oh yeah, Troy Brown Jr. Yeah. Toss Troy Brown Jr. in there. He's the one. Yeah, he's got it. Take Troy Brown Jr. He's fine.
Man, I mean, it's like, okay, who's the most useless piece right now that the Bulls would be willing to just throw into a trade for a player of not that much significance? Oh yeah, Troy Brown. Yeah. All right, go ahead, throw that in there. All right, so there is the latest with Dennis Schroder and how each of us feel about it. Let us know how you feel about it in the comments, or hit us up 331-979-1369. We also have to talk about Paul Millsap, among a few other big men. Before we do that, Big Dave. Car parts.
You see what it looked like outside? Oh, it's ridiculous. God.
Stop snowing Chicago. For the love of God.
Don't you have any humanity? Oh, this is ridiculous. And you say to yourself, man, I still got to get these car parts because I got to get to work. I don't want to get my car stuck in this snow going out there trying to go get these new parts that I need. Guess what? Don't have to do that. Why? Because Rock Auto is here for you and for me. Why spend that extra 30, 50, even 100% more on them same parts from going outside to those chain stores and car dealerships? No. Stay home and get on rockauto.com. It's a family-owned business serving them do-it-yourselfers over 20 years. Reliably low prices for every customer. Brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, even new carpets. Go explore that easy-to-use website today. Find the solution to all your auto parts needs. Go to rockauto.com, see all the parts available for that car or truck that you got, and write Locked On in there. How did you hear about us section to let them know that we sent you. Amazing selection. Reliably low prices. All the parts your car will ever need. Sing it with me so the snow can hear ya. RockAuto.com. Stop snowing.
Please, I beg you.
Please.
Stop with the snow. Okay, moving along from this same Hoops Hype report from Wednesday morning. Paul Millsap is another name to watch in Chicago if he gets bought out by the Nets following the trade deadline. The Bulls showed real interest in Millsap before he chose the Nets as a free agent. They could use a little help with their front court depth as they try to make a run in the playoffs. And then from Jake Fisher, Bleacher Report, while it's believed Paul Millsap would prefer to land in Chicago, having a connection to Bulls lead exec Arturas Karnisovas from their shared Denver days, L.A. Lakers have been mentioned as a suitor for Millsap should he reach the buyout market. So, a couple of takeaways here, Big Dave, but the big one that's slapping Bulls fans in the face right now is, Paul Millsap's just ring chasing. And he might actually at this point be seeing a sinking ship in Brooklyn. Now, look, they're expecting Kevin Durant to come back,
of course,
fully healthy and ready to go at some point after the All-Star break.
Yeah.
However, that team is reeling, and despite the fact that they have been shorthanded a lot this season and they are reeling, he's still not seeing a whole lot of the floor. So Paul Millsap is not a happy camper, and he's basically telling his agency to go shopping for me because it looks like he and the Nets are heading towards a buyout.
Yeah, Paul, let me talk to you 1 second. We had this conversation in the offseason, didn't we? Didn't we talk to you in the offseason? Didn't we tell you where you needed to be, where you would be more appreciated at, where your skill set is going to be more valued? But no. You said, I want to go to Brooklyn. They got Kevin Durant. And we understood it. We got it. It's Kevin Durant. We get it. We feel it. But you see what we talking about now? They ain't got no love for you like that, man. We had the love. We know what we need from you. We knew it from the beginning, man. You know what you did? This is like, we asked you to prom and you turned us down for the captain of the football team. And then he decided to go with the cheerleader. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? That's what that is. You know what I mean? Listen, man, sometimes, you shouldn't turn down the sure thing. We were right there in your face. You told us no. But we can forgive. We can forgive and forget. Because I guarantee you, we still are lacking that spot that goon that I've been screaming about since the offseason. That dude that got them 6 fouls and that jump shot, that got that toughness, the guy that could come in and spot start for us at the 4, especially when we lacking size and that toughness, when we got little chumps like Dick Grayson over here trying to beat up our guys. You know what I'm saying? We can't have that. We can't have that, Paul. You can stop all of this, man. Come on home, man. You know you want to be here. It's the right place for you. You want to ring chase? Come ring chase with us. Why are you thinking about LA? They 3 games under 500. Like, don't worry about them. You know what I'm saying? Come on over here, ring chase. They got enough dudes your age on the Lakers. All right. We need some more of you guys your age here on the Chicago Bulls, man. We need the goonness of Paul Millsap. That's my pitch. I won't do it again. You choose wisely, though. I'll tell you that. Choose wisely.
All right. Well, before I offer my thoughts on Paul Millsap, just going back to your prom night metaphor, I don't appreciate the fact that you just stated for me on my behalf that I guarantee to put out on prom night day.
First of all, I am virtuous. Because I said it was a sure thing.
You said you were talking about prom, and you said sure thing.
That's not what I meant.
I am no man whore, sir.
That is not what I meant at all. You're right. That was a poor choice of words. You're absolutely right. That is not what I meant at all. That is not what I meant.
Anyway. Look, yeah, I think a lot of Bulls fans are kind of turning their nose up at Millsap right now, saying, hey, man, you had your chance and you chose to ring chase in Brooklyn. Mm-hmm. And some Bulls fans are still, and I've seen it in my Twitter mentions over the last 24 hours, saying, go get Millsap. He can help this team. I'm not so sure. I'm just going to rattle off a few things for you here.
Come on with it, Matty.
36 years old, 6 years removed from his final All-Star appearance.
Yes.
24 game appearances for Brooklyn this season, despite how shorthanded they've been. 24 games and just 11.3 minutes per game in those appearances. He's given them not even 4 rebounds. He's not blocking shots. He's only 6'7". When he was in his athletic prime and his age prime, he played bigger than his actual size because he had the skill and could body up guys with his strength and athleticism.
Yes.
Now at 6'7" and at age 36, I'm saying that Paul Millsap doesn't really give the Bulls a whole lot of what they are lacking. Rim protection, interior defense. Can he D up a couple of guys one-on-one in this league and slow them down and force them into a difficult mid-range shot, on the occasional possession? Sure. But 36-year-old Paul Millsap is not 26-year-old Paul Millsap. He's just not. And between that and his frame and the fact that he hasn't really been in game shape, he won't be in ready game shape if and when the Bulls get him because he's played so little for Brooklyn. I really don't see it, man. I do not see Paul Millsap. And then especially when you think about the fact that what the Bulls like to do when it is, when they are capable of doing so is get out and run and score easy points in transition. Like to play it a little bit more up-tempo. They slow things down occasionally, when DeMar's going his ISO game or whatnot, but Paul Millsap, to me, does not translate to what the Bulls do offensively. And I'm sorry, but at age 36 and 6'7", he is not the front court boost that a lot of Bulls fans are looking for right now, in my opinion.
Well, let me retort on that. That's a very good point, and I'll say that. Here's my thing on it, Matt. Everything you just said from the beginning when you were talking about his averaging, his starts, and the things that he can't do, you could have removed his name and said Tony Bradley, and it would have been the same exact thing. And Tony Bradley's younger. Tony Bradley's taller. Tony Bradley's bigger. He can run the floor. He can do all that. And we still no to Tony Bradley. We don't want Tony Bradley there, all right? Paul Millsap, I'm not looking at him to come in because he was playing the same amount of minutes as Tony Bradley pretty much. I believe Tony's like 11. I think they're both like 11. We're averaging like 11 minutes a game, which is, pretty much what I'm going to expect from him. The difference for me with Paul Millsap is I'm not going to watch him get carried off the court by another player. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to go down that way. You know what I'm saying? Paul Millsap is going to bring that intangible that I want, which is the toughness, which is the hard-nosed stuff. That's what I need. I think this team is really, truly lacking. When somebody hits Zach LaVine or DeMar DeRozan, Paul Millsap's going to be the first one right there in your face to put his forearm in your chest. Like, no, you can't do this with us. Tony Bradley just shows you he can't do that. I'm not picking on Tony Bradley. I'm just using him as an example right now because he's the one that will probably be affected if Paul Millsap comes in because Tyler Cook is going to play. He's showing you that. He's looking like a younger Paul Millsap. Not skill-wise, not all that talent-wise, but I'm just saying undersized but playing like he's bigger. That's what Paul Millsap's done his whole career. That's kind of what Cook is looking like. But also, Matt, that 6 fouls and that jump shot, I love it so much because I want him to use them all. He will use all of those fouls. And I'm not looking for him to play every game either. But it's going to come down to that time in the playoffs, or you're going to have that game like you're going against Philly or a team like that. That's tough. Or a game that you're going to have to play the Bucks again. That's tough. You're going to play Cleveland again. That's big and tough. You're going to need somebody to put a forearm in somebody. And it's not going to be Tony Bradley, I promise you. But Paul Millsap, 36 years old, he'll do that for you, man. He'll definitely do that. And it doesn't hurt you in either on the contract level either.
Yeah, I think you're not wrong there in that even at age 36, Paul Millsap could be that, enforcer and even more importantly, not just from a physical, but from a mental standpoint, an enforcer that this Bulls team is lacking. And, you mentioned Giannis and, that Bucks Wizards game from just the other night. Something else that came down over the last day was, I believe it was the Athletic DC, and it may have been David Aldridge, writing about what the Wizards are going to do. And, of course, a lot of it has to deal with the first huge domino of, do they move Bradley Beal or not? And then the other dominoes will fall around that. But in that column that I read, they were talking about the fact that the Wizards basically have 3 big men right now, and that 1 or 2 of them could be on the move, again, depending on what happens with Beal. And those 3, you got Thomas Bryant, you got Montrezl Harrell, who gave Giannis that karate chop the other night.
My guy.
And then that guy who Dave, looks at a picture of while he cries himself to sleep every night, Daniel Gafford. And, yes, as Alanis would say, isn't it ironic, don't you think? Yes, maybe the Bulls are going to go, dumpster picking with the Wizards big men, knowing that the one Wizards big man that they want to keep is Daniel Gafford. There are certain things I think to like about Thomas Bryant and Montrezl Harrell. Thomas Bryant, 6'10", he can shoot the 3 a little bit and stretch the floor. And, he's a decent rim protector. He can push some bodies around. And everybody knows what Montrezl Harrell has been able to do in this league. Just 1 year removed from the NBA Sixth Man of the Year award. And that, when you want to talk about goon, when you want to talk about enforcer, go get that rebound. With, fight off 3 guys, get that rebound. Or if somebody steps to your teammate, get in their face. A lot of those boxes are checked by Montrezl Harrell.
Absolutely right. Now, if we're talking about who do I want, like between the choices, it's Montrezl Harrell. Absolutely right. That's who I want. I want them to go get that guy because he checks all of those boxes, like you just said, Matt. The guy who can really start for you and really impact your team when he's in the starting lineup or even when he's coming off the bench. He's instant offense, which is a rare thing to say about a guy with his skill set. He's instant offense, man. All right. He comes in and he gets fouled a lot. He can get you to the line and score that way. He's got a great touch, but also you ain't running up on Montrezl Harrell. Never. Right. Ever. You ain't running up on that. And if you are, well, you know what you're about to be in for. Shout out to Bobby Portis because he's just as insane. But man, dude, I'm telling you, he is a great fit for this team, man. He is really, truly the fit I want. That is who if I had to put it on the line, that's who I want. I want to go get Montrezl Harrell. And I find it ironic that we always keep going to Washington when we're making these trades and doing stuff, man. It's always Washington, all the way back to trading Jabari. Like, even all the way back to then, it was still with Washington. When we traded Bobby Portis, you know what I'm saying? It was still with Washington and things like that. So I think it's important that we get that settled. The man with the size and the man with that enforcer attitude. I think that is very important for the Chicago Bulls. And I think Montrezl Harrell, honestly, is that one.
Another name that I'll throw at you because I saw in yet another different report that mentioned the Knicks and what they might be looking to do, that a lot of the Knicks vets are up for grabs as we near the trade deadline. And one of the names that was mentioned specifically was Nerlens Noel. I mean, when you talk about rim protection, when you talk about shot blocking, he's averaging over 2 blocks per 36 this season. He's averaging 9.5 boards per 36. not getting a ton of minutes with this Knicks squad this season. I believe he's like just a little over 20 minutes per game, something like that. He's had 22 appearances, 11 starts, 23.2 minutes per game. And Nerlens Noel do anything for you, Dave?
A little bit he does, because of what you just said, bringing the defense that the Bulls are severely lacking and bringing the size that they're lacking. He checks those boxes, awesomely. He can fit that. He's better than what we have as far as what's coming off the bench. I get all of that. I'm scared because he's usually injured. He gets hurt a lot. That worries me. I don't look to him to score at all, like to do anything as far as scoring. But I think the Bulls have the right kind of guards around to help that with him, as far as Ayo and as far as Lonzo. They know how to get the big man involved, you know what I'm saying? Especially Ayo, because he'll be coming off the bench. You know what I mean? He'll be more helpful to that. But I don't know. It's something about him, Matt. I think it's just the injuries. And I think it was the fact that I watched his agent turn down all that money from the Mavs. It just always hurt my feelings about Nerlens Noel. So that makes me worry about him. And that has nothing to do with his game on the court.
Well, yeah, because didn't he file a lawsuit against that agency to be like, yo, y'all screwed me?
Yeah, I know. And he's right. And they did. You know what I'm saying? And honestly, it's probably an unfair thing to say. And but that's just how I feel about it. But he checks those boxes as far as, the defense and things like that. I don't think of him when I think of enforcer, a guy that'll bring that toughness to your team and things like that. And that's kind of what I want. You know what I mean? I want that guy. If you're going to have that size and, bring that defense, I want the toughness too. I don't want 2 out of 3. You know what I'm saying?
Right. That makes sense. I guess the other team that you should maybe keep an eye on as a Bulls fan, if you're talking about bolstering this front court, is Portland. And again, what's going on? Does Dame stay put, while nursing this injury through the trade deadline? Did they decide to pull the trigger on CJ McCollum moving? But the other 3 names that people have talked about, Larry Nance Jr., Robert Covington, and maybe even Yusuf Nurkic could all be attainable between now and the trade deadline. So lots of names. The big question is, what the heck are AK and Eversley thinking and doing right now? Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
We certainly won't pretend to. But we can talk about all the names that are out there that other people are mentioning. So if you have any thoughts about any of this, Dennis Schroder, any and all of these big men that we've just mentioned on this episode for the Bulls between now and the deadline, hit us up with your thoughts. You can hit us up in the comments and replies on our YouTube episode, or you can text us at 331-979-1369. You can also leave a voicemail there as well. And follow us on Twitter, Bulls_Peck, BAL, BAWL Sports, and at Locked On Bulls. Until next time, Bulls Nation, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. See Red be good. Peace out.